This is the Final Round Podcast, coming to you live from the FingerLakes1.com studios in downtown Seneca Falls, New York. And now your host, Chris Marquardt. Good afternoon, good evening, welcome to this edition of the Final Round Drag Racing Podcast. Excited to have you along for the ride tonight. We've got Keith Mares joining us here in just a few minutes, but we are back in the studio here at Finger Lakes 1. Jason made the trip in. I know he was excited to get in here and make some space in the pickup truck.
It's been, it's been a long time since I've been in the studio here. As I mentioned to you when I got here, I actually have one.
Sitting up straighter than I was anticipating.
Oh, sorry, I'll slouch more. I got my Mid-Atlantic Super Gas Super Street Association shirt on that Kelly Barbado was nice enough to trade with us, and I've had your shirts in my truck for it seems like it's at least a month, maybe 6 weeks. So yeah, it'll be nice to get those out of my truck finally and get them off to you.
Sure. What else has been going on? The race car all done?
So I got notification from Randy that car was done just on Tuesday. He messaged me, and so I got headers, I got a vacuum pump, I got what else did he do? Oh, new windows in the car. It's nice. It looks like I'll be able to see out of the car this year. Who knows? Maybe I'll be able to drive the stripe a little bit better because I'll actually be able to see cars coming up on me. And Phil is supposed to be coming home from Florida next week Thursday, so we'll probably, as soon as he comes home, probably go over to Randy's shop, pick the car up, and get it ready. It's, granted, it's still early. It's only April 8th. I realize it's almost 80 degrees here today, but that's obviously unseasonably warm for this time of the year. So we don't usually plan on being out before beginning of May, and even then it's usually 50-50 whether or not you can get a race in weather-wise. And but when the weather's like this, it's like, man, I got to get the car ready. We're ready to go racing.
There's so many racetracks that always roll the dice on this.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Drag strips or asphalt ovals or dirt ovals, and some tracks have pushed off any starts until May because of the COVID stuff.
Yeah.
It's just safer to assume that the later start is going to be in safer territory.
Sure.
And some years we see like Lincoln Speedway or Port Royal, they try to start in February down in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
And they get a couple races in and they lose a bunch, but it jumpstarts things. It gets everybody anxious. But I know there's a bunch of racetracks around here that are just like, why couldn't this be Saturday? And why didn't we know this was coming?
Sure. Yeah, and I know Empire is, they're still finishing upgrades to the track. They're close, but my guess is that their first test and tune probably isn't scheduled for 2 weeks from this weekend.
But are the upgrades anything that would keep them from being able to run a test and tune? Because there's been a ton of work over there. I don't know where things are for, what would impede them versus what's just kind of crossing T's and dotting I's.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think, from that standpoint, I think they're okay. Now, granted, I know they went through the pits and just put new drainage in and reseeded and everything else. So my guess is that they would like people to not park on the grass for a few weeks. But that said, there's, for a test and tune, especially early in the season, they'll be able to get people to park on. There's plenty of space in the paved pit area and to park on the roads that they probably wouldn't have to worry about that. But I don't know what the weather's supposed to be like this weekend, but I'm sure there's going to be people on Facebook if the weather's nice that why don't we go out to the track and get a test and tune in.
Have you been on the new website for them?
I have. Yeah,
it's pretty sharp.
Yeah, it is pretty sharp. It's a lot nicer than the old one for sure. Jerry continues to spend a lot of money, and like I said, the track looks good. They have. I know that they signed up for the IHRA. Sportsman Spectacular, I think, is what they call it, or the Summit Super Series Sportsman Spectacular, or whatever the heck it's called. So I know that they got that coming. I know that they have Pro Mod show scheduled. They have the Twin 7500s that they're kind of starting the season off with almost. Mm-hmm. That's going to be a lot earlier than it has been. So
test and tune will be this month, the 24th and 25th.
Okay, so that's like I said, 2 weeks from this weekend, which is pretty crazy.
Of course, you know what else is this weekend?
This weekend?
Yeah.
I have no idea. What's this weekend?
WrestleMania.
Oh. Yeah, I did not know that. I probably should have known that, but yeah, did not know that. I don't know how many of our viewers care, but I guess there's a lot of wrestling fans out there, so probably more wrestling fans than drag racing fans, right?
I don't know. So we had a big announcement Monday that the King of Ohio Demolition Derby program that Triple D's does with Dustin Woods has entered a partnership, not a sponsorship, a partnership. They were very specific on making sure that language was out there.
Okay.
They entered a partnership with Jegs.
Oh, no kidding.
Like, not Jegs around the corner, but like
Yeah.
Jeg the Third was in the commercial and stuff. It
Yeah.
was really cool. And they got to have the raffle car for the 4th of July, which is a 65 Imperial, was in the race shop.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, it was really cool.
You know, it's funny just because the Derby stuff overall, though the payouts were really, really big, I have to say I don't really recall there being like massive, huge, big sponsors behind them. It's almost like it was a whole bunch of they get a whole bunch of smaller sponsors.
It's all on the local level. It's all the industry feeding the industry.
Yeah.
And this is the first time since like Budweiser got behind Bud Blowout in some way.
Yeah.
But that's just like a Budweiser sign hanging up at Outlaw Speedway because they had a deal with the Wasco Beverage.
Yeah, okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I don't believe that it was Budweiser corporate, but maybe it was. And then Napa
Might have been a distributor or something.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like a Wasco Beverage is a distributor. And then we had Napa got in really deep with Winter Slam, the outdoor show in Minnesota. But again, that was a group, like 5-star auto group that owned a bunch of Napas in the greater Blue Earth County area. And then on top of that, I think the other big one that really stands out in my mind is when Speedway Motors magazine came out in November of 2014 or 15.
Okay.
They had a Derby car on the cover of it.
Okay.
Cover of it, and they were a sponsor of the event. But that's the closest it's got. But it was a really big deal. It was cool.
So now instead of paying $50,000 to win demo derbies, it's going to be like $250,000 to win.
We walk before we run.
It's still, I can't believe the money that's in the demolition derbies. Quite
we
frankly,
can talk more about the details of that in the production meeting.
Yeah. It's pretty incredible. But yeah, we do have obviously Keith Mayer's on the line waiting for us, and yeah, I mean he's certainly someone that knows a lot about winning money. So I don't know. Did you turn Keith's mic on?
Keith's
can you hear me, Keith?
He's looking at his watch.
Yes, sir.
Hey, thanks for joining us tonight. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, you guys must be scraping the bottom of the barrel to have me on.
You know, this is episode number 91, and I can think of probably 10 to 12 times where we've heard that sentence.
Right. Well, I will say, Keith, you're joining a pretty good list of guests that we've certainly had on, and you know, I was, you know. I won't say that you and I are best friends, but I mean you and I have known each other for quite a long time because you were one of the kind of original active members on Class Racer in the .90 forum a long time ago, and one of those other guys that was part of that too was Jeff Jackson, and I was chatting with Jeff earlier, who's a regular viewer, earlier this evening. And I have to say, and I was trying to think of some other racers, I would have to definitely put you as one of the most decorated super street racers on the East Coast, for sure.
Yeah, I have been fortunate enough to win a lot of stuff, but where I'm not on Facebook or go around bragging a lot about it or anything, I just like me to check and I'm happy.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, you've always been, I will say, you've always been really down to earth. You've never been a guy to do a lot of bragging, but you have done a lot of winning for sure. And I have to say, even a lot more winning than I had even realized. And maybe it's just because Yeah, I'm not trying to call you old because you're probably you're probably the same age as me, but you've been doing it a long time, and I guess I just have come to expect, if there's a super street race on the East Coast, Keith's going to be there, and he's going to be a contender.
Yeah, I've been doing it for a while, man. I mean, when I 16 in high school, got my first car, I went out there and started running in me, like a trophy class and all. So yeah, I've been doing it a while, and I'm 53 now. So yeah, I don't know how old you are, but yeah, I've been around a while.
Well, I'm basically the same age as you. I'm 50. So the difference is that your age to win ratio is a lot higher than mine. So. And I found it interesting, actually. So, everybody that knows you, and here's the shirt, with your car on the front, right, from this year's championship. Everybody that knows you knows the Porsche, but you had mentioned in a message to me earlier that the first, it sounded like maybe the first big one that you got was in a Trans Am. I don't remember that car. Yeah,
nobody really does. I mean, when I first started running actually Super Street, that car there would run about 1060s and 70s. And I first started running Super Street, it was still a 410 Pro Tree.
Okay.
So I had put the little rubber band tires on the front and all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
And the first win was actually the first year when they went to the 510th Street. And I did win Cecil County next car. That was back in, I think, 95. Most people don't know that car. I was still really young and wasn't really traveling very far.
Yep.
I don't have a lot of money. Everything that goes into the car is what it wins.
Yeah.
So, I had to win to go places. So I was bracket racing at the home track and all that. And if I could get to a race close, I would do it. And I did get lucky enough to win with that. So. Yep.
I was going to say, my recollection, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but my recollection was that you did a lot of IHRA racing before NHRA racing, at least in Super Street. Is that correct?
Oh, yeah. Sure. I lived in southern Maryland near the ocean. And from here to go to an NHRA race, it was always easy to go to a race. Down south, the tolls from here is like nothing. And that really turned me on. I think a friend of mine kind of pushed me towards it. And I think I went out and won the first race and just kept going and won a lot of them. But that was with that car. Even to go back before that, I went, like with the Trans, I had won a bunch of foot brake races and a few actual big money foot brake races before I even got doing that. And some sponsors and some other guys, they kind of pushed me forward. They say, hey, man, there's money to be had over here. If you can't get to the NHRA races, come try this. So I did, and it was great the first, the first 5 or 10 years of IHRA when Bill Bader was still running it when I got into it. And
right.
It was excellent back then. I mean, there's plenty of stories.
Jeff says we need to go back to the 410th Street.
I'm okay with that. My guess is that Keith is probably okay with a 410s Pro Tree these days too, right?
Well, these days it would be great, but no, they first started, you can't run 10. He had much of a chance. That's when Peter Biondo was wiping it up, and Todd Beam and a few other cars went constantly, and there was a reason why.
Yeah, like I said, I'd be perfectly okay with the 410th Tree. You may have heard that our series, Western New York Super Route Association, we have a hard time really trying to get a lot of cars to come out and race with us because of the 410ths Pro Tree and Super Gas. So we moved to 510ths Pro Tree last year. Well, last year was the first year full time, but we did it at the end of 2019, and instantly had a whole bunch more cars because people were like, I got an old back half car and I have a hard time getting a light on a 410ths Pro Tree, and I can run fast enough, but I don't want to try and take 500s or 600s out of my reaction time to try and get down to the 4/10. So yeah, 5/10 definitely seems to draw a lot more cars around here at least. And you know,
now were you guys on a 370 and a 470, or was it a true 4 and 5?
Yeah, ours was I would say ours was a true 4/10 tree. Yeah, so not the 370. I would say the 370 tree is tough.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's real tough. I have to say, the last time I went to an NHRA Division event, I think it was Lebanon Valley a few years ago, and I had totally forgot that it was the 370 tree, and showed up and first hit, you know, went, I don't know, 430, 440 on the tree. I'm like, huh, I don't know what the heck's going on here, or 30 or 40 on the tree, right? And I was like, I don't know what the heck's going on here. And then it was after the second pass that I was like, oh yeah, this is a 370 tree. I forgot. It's like, yeah, I had to zero the box out to be able to get myself a halfway decent reaction time.
Yeah. Well, they're the ones that made it like a Corvette Roadster class.
Well, that is 100% true. And yeah, I have to say, I have a feeling that you're probably, given your age and the length of time that you've done this, that you're probably a lot like me, and kind of like the old school stuff, right?
Yeah, what are you considering old school?
Well, you know, probably again like me, I have to say that overall, I've certainly hopped on board and, you know, outfitted my car with all the electronics necessary to be able to be competitive. But if I had my druthers, you know, I would go back to, heck, if I had my druthers, I'd get rid of all electronics completely and say, let's go super gas racing with no electronics. But
oh, yeah. Well, let me throw this at you. I've got an 1150 index car. That's my street and strip car.
Yep.
And I ran that thing at Cecil and won the 1150 index up there. And I've got to tell you that that's harder than all the electronics and everything that's running around. That is tough.
Oh yeah.
So with someone like, you know, and that car they allow you to deep stage and stuff, and I have to deep stage it because it's, you know, I mean, you're running almost flat out anyway.
Yep.
And then it's a real driver's game from there. But,
sure.
Sometimes you know you might get what you wish for, and then you might not want it.
Right.
There's places for both. If you want to run no electronics, you do have the 1150 index, the 850 index, and the 10 flat index. And I think a lot of those classes are getting more popular around the outlaw street car stuff and all.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's pretty neat. Yeah, but I like the electronics. I mean, if the rules allow it, you have every darn thing that you can have.
Yeah.
If the rules don't allow it, you know, try your hand in that.
Right. Yeah. No, and that's something I completely agree with, and that's why my car has all the electronics, right? It's like I'm not going to bring a knife to a gunfight. And like I said, I mean, I just remember the way it used to be, and you know, there was a lot more. I always felt like there was a lot more work that was necessary to put into the car to get it to work when none of that stuff was there. And that the electronics have certainly made it easier for people to be competitive. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that that anybody can win. Obviously, you go out to one of Rob's races, right, or one of our races, and anybody that's entered can certainly win because everybody's good enough. But just because you're running electronics, it doesn't mean that you're an instant winner. Good competitors still win.
No. Yeah, we had a guy that was a world champion in IHRA there, Eddie. I can't think of his last name, but anyway, at MIR, he used to just add weight. And I don't know if he was playing at the time or not. I don't think so. I think he was trans breaking, but you know, and that kind of stuff that's hard to beat. And when you get in a car running dead on at an hour.
Oh yeah, for sure. And yeah, from that standpoint, like you said, the other classes, the non-electronics classes, they're certainly starting to get popular around here as well. The Empire Outlaws, that's what they're called around here. They run, so we're all pretty much 8th mile around here nowadays. So they run I think it's a 550, that's what it is. It's a 550, 650, and I think they're talking about doing a 750 index. So very similar, but yeah, no electronics. No, you can run trans brakes, but yeah, no delay boxes, no throttle stops, and yeah, I thought about doing that because I think that sounds like it would be really, really fun.
Yeah, you guys got a lot of killers around that area. You around the Buffalo area?
That's exactly where we're at. Yeah, lots of, like I said, lots and lots of 8th mile treks. I miss the quarter mile. I will say that's one thing I do miss about going to the NHRA races and traveling a little bit. Is I really miss the quarter mile. I'd love to go back to that, but hey, it's 8th mile is what's popular around here, so it's that or don't race. So I'm going to race 8th mile. That's what everybody wants to do.
Yeah, I was trying to use the 8 mile. We had some weather issues come in at the divisional at Maple Grove.
Yeah.
They went to 8 mile. I think I was the only one dancing around with that. I was like, bring that crap on.
No.
It's amazing. You know, people don't know where the finish line is. It's like, hey, you pass it every time you go down the track.
That is.
I gotta agree. I'd rather quarter mile race. I just like the speed and the distance of it. But 8 mile, whatever they're gonna have, I'm okay with it.
Yeah. I'm just like you. I know that there's talk nowadays too about maybe doing compromise and doing 1,000 foot. I don't really care. I've said it before on this show. I would race half mile if we had tracks so we could race half mile. I'll race it. I don't care.
I think we'd blow up a lot of motors doing that.
I'm sure we would, and I will say that the one car owner whose car I drive mostly these days, I will say he definitely prefers 8th mile because it's easier on the equipment. I say when you're not paying the bills, it's easy to say let's go race half mile. But I'm curious, about the Porsche. So, you had the Trans Am. Was that your first full-time race car, the Trans Am that you had?
No, I had several other cars before that. Like I said, I started in school with my street car, and then I actually I owned a body shop, and I had a guy that wanted a rust bucket done, so I picked some stuff on. He gave me a car, and that was my first actual race car. And I used to flat tow that to Delta behind a little S10 pickup. And that was my first real car, and that was a bracket racer when I And then I got the Trans Am. That was my uncle's car. When he died, I got that, so I picked that up. That was a Nico car.
Okay.
I won a lot of stuff with that, but then I realized, you're not going to make this heavy car fast enough to react and do what I wanted to do in Super Street, so I built a Porsche.
Now, was the Trans Am, I'm guessing from your comment about being a big, heavy car, that it was like mid-'70s Trans Am?
Yeah, it was, what is it, 79?
Okay.
It was big. Yeah, it was a heavy car.
Yep.
And I'd go to a race, and everybody would say, Camaro, Z28, Firebird, everything and what it was. So I wanted to build something different. So I built this car. I was like, this is going to, now I go somewhere, and it's a monster. It's like this, that, or the other. Thinking what it is, but I don't care anymore.
Yeah, I was going to say, how did you decide, or how did the Porsche come about?
Okay, well, like I was saying, I own a small body shop. Basically, it's just me.
Yeah.
And I was doing work for a place called Delmarva Import, and he did mostly BMWs and a few Porsches and stuff. I kept telling him I wanted to build a new car. He wanted me to do a BMW. They're too square. So he got the 940 in. I traded in, and I begged him, and finally he gave it to me. So I sold all the parts off of it that I took off, and when I actually first built this car, hell, I still had the power windows, and the front suspension was all stock, and I had a 396 I had dropped in there, and everything still worked. It could have been a street car, but the problem with it is it couldn't get to the spark plugs. It'd take an hour to change the spark plug.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so, I've done a lot of upgrades since I first built it, and like people say, I'll be somewhere, somebody will come up to me and say, hey, man, I saw one of these, it was purple and yellow, and I was like, no, that was me. Well, there was one that had checkerboard, no, that was me.
Yeah.
Then there was another one that had, this is the fourth paint job I put on the car, and it's been only some years now, so, yeah, chances are that was me.
It's funny just because of the fact that we have one that races regularly at Empire as well, and I don't feel like that body style Porsche is something that you see at the drag strip all the time. I mean, honestly, the only two I know of are the one at the races at Empire and yours that I can think of off the top of my head.
Yeah, there was a guy, Pete Boss, out in California. When I built mine, he was running his, and it was a 924, and he was doing pretty good with that. Him and Kyle Seifel were together, and he was winning a lot of the series they had out there before any of this stuff. And then I think I was probably the next one out one. And now, even over here, there's some guy with a black convertible one that runs near Epping and stuff, and he came down to Virginia. We actually run a time run together, but it was funny. I think he went like 130, and I was 158. Yeah, he didn't expect that.
Now, how hard was it to convert the car to? I mean, you run a Chevy in it, I'm assuming at this point, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, how hard was it to convert it to a Chevy and I'm guessing a Power Glide and get that combination up and running?
Well, I mean, I did most 90% of it myself. I had to have somebody put the bar and all that at the time. It really wasn't too bad. Like I say, I still had the front suspension all stock.
Wow.
So, the oil and all that cleared everything. I put a motor plate on it and had the mounts like that. And for years I ran it like that. And like I said, the power window still worked, and it could have been a street car then. But over there, then I got tired of doing that, and I just cut the front off and put a tubular front end on it.
Yep.
And now it's progressed to where it's at. It still, it still has a lot of neat little stuff to it. I mean, I still have a full-blown stereo.
Really?
Yeah, people like that kind of stuff. One issue I do have with the car, like I say, I keep going back to this. I built the car back 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Of course, then I only weighed like 150 pounds. So the issue is I had the seat all the way back as I could get it. I mean, that's right on the tire.
Yeah.
And it's only a ladder bar car to start with. And I'm sitting right on the damn ladder bar, and I'm squunched up in there. Well, now every year around April, I have to go on a diet to get under 200 pounds just so I can get the damn car again. Yeah.
Well, I will say that I can identify with that completely because, yes, I am not as svelte as I once was. And, what's the wheelbase on the Porsche?
It's longer than you think because when I built it, I moved it back like 2 inches in the wheel well. I think it's, I want to say like 98 to 102.
Okay.
In that range.
I say, because my Corvette's a 99-inch wheelbase, and just like you, the seat is all the way back up against the wheel tub, and there's pretty much no more space for me to go backwards, and it's a tight squeeze. I know I've had some people be like, "Oh, can I?" A full-blown adults be like, "Yeah, can I sit in it?" I'm like, "If you can get in it, sure." And I'm a pretty small guy. I'm only 5'8", so it's like, yeah, you got someone that's 6 foot, going to climb in. It's like, wow, it's tight in here. It's like, yeah, it is. It's a little car. So I can completely understand where you're coming from that standpoint.
Yeah, well, and like I have the sunroof comes out, and I'll run it like that sometimes too. But you can pop your head up through there if you want to. I'll say I'll lay back.
That's funny too.
Pop my head up. I can do.
I was gonna say that's funny too because one of our competitors has a sunroof in his car. Lance Pinot has a sunroof in his car, and
Lance real. Yep, I know Lance real well.
But does Lance have a stereo?
I don't know if Lance has a stereo, but the sunroof is nice though because it's like to be able to pop the sunroof out and get some fresh air in there. I'd be totally all over that. I don't have all my windows are basically permanent Lexan, so I can't do anything. It's like, but yeah, be able to let some heat out of the car is nice. And yeah, and from around here, I'm sure there's a bunch of guys from around here that you've competed against. I was actually thinking as I was driving out here. You probably know Jeff Fisher pretty well because Jeff was very active in Super Street. Yeah.
I'm sick right now, but I wanted him to come on here with it, or you'd have a comedy club then with me and Fisher together. Yeah, we're real good friends. His girlfriend's got a place down here to do, and he'll leave his stuff here or stay here for a week in between races and stuff. So
it's all us old guys that have been doing it for a long time. But so once you started racing the Porsche, did you have kind of immediate success with it?
Well, I'd say yeah. When I first started the car, I mean, I was doing a lot of foot braking still, and I won the first couple of weeks out of the thing. I won a $5,000 foot brake race, which is funny because I'd never had a big check.
Yeah.
And Yamdo was running the super class, and I was running the foot brake class, and it was $5,000 to win each class. Well, he won that, and I won that, and I was so excited because I was going to get a big check. Well, they come out there, oh, we only got one, so guess who got that? So, yeah, I wasn't one of those, and then I went down to MIR, foot brake, and won another $5,000. And then I kind of started getting more back into the super street. And it was all in what money dictates on where I could go. Like I say, I lived on the Eastern Shore, I still do. But I lived on the Eastern Shore, and it was real hard to get anywhere because I either had to cross the bridge or the tunnel to go down south or pay up the tolls to go north. And like I say, I'm a one-man band, and I will not race on a credit card. So unless I've had money or won early, I don't go anywhere. And that's another thing with people who say, well, why were you running a lot of NHRA? I said, well, I'd go to the first one. If I didn't win, you won't see me.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's kind of how I race. I mean, I keep it reasonable, and it's been all within my means. And, I've seen a lot of people come and go, but they'll have some nice stuff for a few years.
Well, I would say it's funny you say that because, yeah, I mean, that is so true. It's like, over your racing career, over my racing career, I couldn't necessarily name names, but there's been so many people that you see all of a sudden show up and they got the nicest stuff around and they're there for a few years and then they just disappear. And, yeah, much like yourself, it's like I'm a low budget guy, and it's like, when I'm out of money, the end of the year, or even in the middle of the year, if I get to the point where I have some massive parts breakage, I'm out of money. Well, that's when the car gets parked. Bills got to get paid first, and I'm not gonna put myself in debt to go racing. I do this for fun. But yeah, lots of guys out there come and go with fancy rigs, big cars, all the rest of it, and there's I don't know. I won't say more than a handful because there's quite a few people out there that have been doing it for a long time, and they're generally the guys that keep it a little bit more modest, I guess.
Yeah.
Now, from a success standpoint, would you just attribute a lot of your success to lots and lots of runs, or did you feel like you were ahead of the curve with regards to everybody else as far as super class racing, I should say? Really, I try to learn from every loss. Success is how you take it. I think, I never feel like I'm successful because the next race I got to. I really don't know. I think it's all in how you take it. You go out there and say, well, you see the guy a couple, and years ago, when you'd run the dial in, and that's the way it is. Now everybody's a drop. Right.
Over years, I had to go with the flow and figure out what worked and what didn't. Well, when I first started, I was probably one of the first people to actually have a full-size practice street. And like I say, when I was foot braking around here, I'd go to Del Mar on Friday night, I'd go to Capitol on Saturday, and I'd go to Cecil on Sunday. Well, all these places, he's cheating. Well, no, get your butt in the car and go places and race. I mean, you can't get any better unless when you only see the tree 2-time runs and you lose first round, you're only seeing the tree 3 times.
Yep.
So it took a little bit. So, all of a sudden now I'm going 6, 7, 8 rounds a race and going 3 races a week. You better get better.
But yeah, I mean that's
find a new hobby, right? Do some sewing or something.
Yeah. I mean, racing 3 days a week like that. I mean, yeah, you're going to get yourself some passes. There's no doubt. It's funny. I mean, right now for myself, it's like I know that I need practice. I'm great on the tree. I need practice driving the stripe. And it's like I said, you go out and you make a couple of time runs and lose first round. Well, yeah, you didn't get much practice. So it's like, I'm going to buy back regardless, just because I need the practice. Hopefully I win so I can go out and lose second round and get myself one more time run. But yeah, there really is no. And unfortunately, unlike the practice tree, I haven't found a good way to practice driving the stripe except for getting out and driving the stripe.
Highway. Go down the highway and lock them up on somebody.
Well, I will say that I do that. The problem that I have is that I'm being chased most of the time. So, but when I'm on the highway, I'm usually doing the chasing. So. I guess I need to slow down and yeah, I guess I need to slow down and start practice on the highway. Just start driving the speed limit or slower so I can practice my stripe driving.
I'll tell you something else I used to do. And these guys at ADCO and Englishtown and all that, I know ADCO would run like 3 or 4 times a week, and as often as I could, I'd go up there and I'd take a beating. I figured, if you go run with these the best, you've got to get better that way too. So, when some people would say, like, okay, Yonder's in line, nobody's lining up next to him, I'd jump at the chance to get next to him because, hey, maybe I'll learn something this fast.
Oh, sure. Yeah, there's no doubt. Yeah, you're not going easy races, I'm not going to, I can't specifically say, oh yeah, this guy around here stinks, I want to line up against him, right? But there's no doubt. It's like you run against good competitors or compete against good competitors regardless of the sport. That's how you're going to get better for sure.
Yeah, I'll give you an idea on the strike thing, and I'll hear people go down there and they'll, how do you get better at this strike? How do you get better? Well, I'll say, on the time run, how much did you? Well, I don't know. I said, well, how close was it at the finish line in the time run with somebody? They have no idea. I was like, well, what are you looking at? I don't know. They're looking at your tack or whatever.
Right.
Well, your time runs are your get ready to race.
Right.
So you better pay attention to what's going on in a time run.
Yep.
It's amazing because it seems like time runs, no one's ever near me. Come first, second, third round, they're all like, wow, they're right there.
Right.
But, that's another way to be able to drive the stripe, and don't be afraid to take a time run and actually do something with it.
Right.
I don't know if I want to give away all the secrets, but I will throw this out there, like on a divisional or a national event. Okay, the last time run or something, what you need to do is find out what the weather's going to be like for the next day.
Yep.
And set up for that. People thought I was crazy. I did it in Super Gas at Maple Grove. It was supposed to be like, I think 20 degrees hotter or colder the next day. So I set up like a whole, I ran it through the computer, and it said, at this temperature, the car would run, say, a 10-0.
Yep.
So I sped the car up like 2/10, and I went out there and up 970. And I said, what are you doing? I wait till tomorrow. So first round the next day, I don't have to change any numbers. I went up there, car runs dead on, and I was 70 on the last time run.
Yeah.
So that's what people need to do. They need to think about, your elimination. Because you can run time runs all day. I mean, you can be a champion at time runs. I don't know what good that's going to do you.
Right. Yeah, and that's, I will say that running an NHRA national event, we'll say an NHRA national event, versus running, even any of the high dollar bracket races today where they're doing all the rounds in one day. There's a big difference between running a race that's spread out over multiple days and running a complete race in one day.
And that's where a lot of people get lost.
Right.
A lot of new or whatever that don't have a weather station. I think if you're going to do this and go to the divisionals, you're wasting your time if you don't have one. Because you're going to be running the next day without a time run.
Yep. Yeah. And I would say that's certainly someplace where you're definitely preaching to the choir here, because I couldn't imagine running without a weather station, and I guess I'm just neurotic about it. I couldn't imagine racing even without my paging weather station. Just because I'm so concerned about we're going to get called up to the lane, someone's going to go oil the track down, we're going to be sitting there for 2 hours, and now the weather's going to change, and I'm not going to have my my little portable weather station in front of me. It's like with the pager, I don't have to worry about it. I just sit there and let it send me weather data.
Absolutely. I got the same deal, Bob. But if you're going to be sitting there for 2 hours, you're going to want to have that stereo in your car, too.
So have you found, I guess, with your success, I mean, I kind of feel like you're the New England Patriots of, let's call it Super Street on the East Coast, that, if I beat Keith Mayers, it's like I just won the Super Bowl, right? And have you found that people, always bring their A game against you, or that, you've, I guess, grown to be hated because you've won so much?
Yeah, and it's hard because I'm the guy that jokes around and plays around his track. I don't take stuff serious. You're going to get beat every week unless you win every week, and that's not going to happen.
Right.
So you better get being good at being a loser. That's the easiest thing to be as a loser. But yeah, I see it all the time, man. I mean, Jesus, it's ridiculous what people do to me. I mean, I'll walk out there and have a 10-pack, and this guy got in on it. I'm like, and you can stand at defense. You can win every race at defense.
Right.
Or you sit there and you see these races and you go, well, where's this guy? I don't this guy.
Right.
I get the guy that's going to be 0-0 and dead on every pass, and then get a lot of that. It seems like they actually go for it, and it usually ends up turning out pretty good for them. But and again, that kind of makes me a better racer too, because I got to be on top of it with everybody.
Now I'm trying to think. Do they have the bounty? I know they were doing the bounty hunter program at the division races, right? Were they doing that at the Mid-Atlantic .90 races too?
Yeah, I actually was doing that myself the first year. Well, last year I was doing that, and I was throwing it in. If I was the bounty, you'd get double the amount if you beat me. Now, this year I'm not, but I lost a lot of money.
And I always say I have to say I vaguely remember that, and it always seemed like that. When you were the bounty, it seemed like it was extra special to win that $50 or $100 because I beat Keith Mayers.
Yeah, that's always a good ego thing too. I mean, people say, "Hey, aren't you upset we went?" Or somebody, he's all excited because he beat you, and people get upset about it. No, it's actually he's hyped up to do it, and if he did it, more power to him.
Yeah.
Or her, that matter.
Yeah.
So it's a good feeling when somebody gets up and actually beats you and brags to all their friends about it. There's no need to get mad about it, that's for sure. People. But that's about 90 stuff, man. Yeah, we got it on lockdown here. He's running a good show with that.
Rob.
It's a really good time.
Yeah, Rob does a fantastic job running the series, and obviously we've had him on the show multiple times, and I think he's absolutely out of his mind with trying to run the series with 3 different classes, but he does just a fantastic job, and I will say that I'm jealous that I don't live down in that area, because I would definitely be a full-time competitor for sure. Just because, like I said, Rob runs a really, really great show for you guys, and clearly it helps too when you guys are able to race 8-10 times a year with Rob's series. Now, when the NHRA shows roll into town, you definitely have an advantage, right?
Sure.
You can't replace seat time.
Right.
Yep.
Oh, I want to venture off into something, because when we were texting back and forth, we were talking about some of the wins, and if you really want to, the biggest accomplishment I think I've ever had was a couple years ago. I actually started off at Easter's race, and I ended up going 33 consecutive rounds.
Wow.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and it was one of our .90 guys, and it was in the finals. Dom, excuse me, I can't even think of his last name right now, but Dom Burgess, I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Very final round of a race there. I think it was like 6 different races that I hadn't been beat, and he did it. I won our own guys, so hats off to him too.
Yeah, 33 rounds in a row. That's a pretty darn good streak.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was going to ask you actually, if any one of your mean, you're a five-time
14 through 16, and then 19 and 20.
Yes.
5 times.
Five-time Mid-Atlantic .90 champion.
Okay.
One time.
Two-time IHRA world champion.
Yeah. I did it both ways. I'll run through that real quick because this it's a little funny story in that the very first time we had 2 races at Rockingham. We had a national event and a national event at the end.
Yeah.
And I went down there and won the first national event. And then come the very last one, I think I was sitting in like 7th place. And the way I added it up, I didn't have a chance. I figured I could get maybe all the way up, 3rd or 4th or something. So I just went to the race and was happy to be there. And little detail story, I had a problem first round. And IHRA, all the cars at the national event had to scale. Every round you had to scale.
Right.
And I had some problems with the car, and the guy I ran, I could only run like 11s or something. He took an easy win. Guy drives right around the scale.
Oh, my God.
I couldn't believe it. I called it. I drove up the scale, and they're like, hey, you're reinstated.
Yeah.
Well, I went where I had ignition problems. I went over to, and this was, when the time the manufacturers were actually at the track.
Right.
Excel gave me new wires, new plugs, all this stuff to go with the car and just change everything. So I did, and the next round the car was back. Well, I ended up winning, and this was the last race of the season. And I'm like, I'm all happy. I won both national events.
Yeah.
Them. And I'm going home. I started getting some phone calls. People say, "Hey, man, I think you won." I was like, "Yeah, I did, man. I wanted to." No. We think you won points. And I was like, No. The guy from Florida actually had a decal made up, and he was putting it on. He had a stacker trailer. He was putting it on his trailer. 1999, whatever year it was.
Yeah.
National champion. And I congratulated him and stuff. And I get home, and a couple days later, I get a phone call from IHRA, I get all these phone calls. So I called IHRA.
Yeah.
And we're working on it now. And that was it. So the guy called me back Monday. He's good news and bad news. Like, well, what? What do you want to hear? The good news or the bad news? I don't know. Give me the bad news. Well, the bad news is you got to buy a tub. Well, and they actually supplied that. But what had happened is I ended up tying this guy from Florida.
Yeah.
And it went out to, they said, like 5 different spots. We had run each other both times. We had come, he won once, I won the other time.
Yeah.
And so the tiebreaker went out like 5 spots, and it ended up being where he was in Florida, he was only running like 5-round races, and I was running 7-round races. And I had actually ended up going 2 more rounds than he had.
Wow.
So I do take that as, yes, I'm definitely the champion there. But that was the story behind the first one, and that was a point deal. When you travel a lot, you just like NHRA, you had to really put into it.
Sure.
And I didn't even realize it till near the end. So then a couple years later.
The schedule?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I mean, I was just going to races to try to win money. But, okay, a couple years later, they changed the whole thing up and went to they take the top 3 in the division and then some kind of wild card crap, and they made us all run it all.
Right.
Well, I only come in 3rd in the division that year, but I got a shot at it, and they had it the end of the year race Rockingham again. Well, I ended up winning the race, and I was the world champion again. Well, and then when they talked about it and stuff, I said, well, I don't feel I'm a champion this year because I'm not third place. And this, I was lucky enough to win a race one day.
Sure.
And this was my day. I won 1 race. Does that make me a champion? No. Well, they didn't put any of that kind of stuff in the article. They showed up that I was some kind of egomaniac or something. I tell you, Steve Furr was in the same boat. He did the same thing. He says, "No, I didn't like this deal," and they never put, they handled the same way. And to this, I regret that because that was right. I think I earned the right to what I said to have credit, and they were like, "Oh yeah." So yeah, I'm not happy with the 2nd world championship, but I got $10,000 from it, and I got the ring and all that kind of stuff under that.
Everybody was playing under the same rules.
I wish I had that problem. To be unhappy with the world championship.
My whole
My
thing
second
was
one.
that they what I thought about it,
Right.
Yeah,
I
and
thought you earned the right to say something, and I wasn't saying anything bad about it. I was just saying that, I didn't like the concept of it, and that you didn't agree with it, well, you weren't getting it print.
yeah, and I will say that, and I completely agree with you, Keith. I mean, I liked the concept of, let's call it, having some type of invitational where all the best guys, you only get there by invite, and the only way you get there by invite is how you finish the year out, and then we're going to have this invitational special race, and the winner basically has the bragging rights that I won this special invitational race. I'm totally cool with that. But just like yourself, again, being an old school guy, when I think world champ, I think, hey man, I went out and I won every single race all year except for the very last one, and I'm not world champ. I got a problem with that.
Well, absolutely, and I'm sure that, like I said, I was in third in the division. So obviously other people had a lot better year than I had. And I totally agree with that. Well, do you see where IHRA is now with it? So they don't do that.
Yeah. I mean, I will say I definitely miss the IHRA of old, no doubt. The IHRA of early 2000s, man, those races were late 90s, early 2000s were really great races. Lots of competitors. The payout was great. I miss that for sure.
It was a great thing.
Yeah, and then obviously, well, I mean, I guess I was racing both IHRA and NHRA. Unfortunately, NHRA for me, I mean, they've made it so that it's just not financially viable for us to go to the NHRA races anymore. I mean, especially with the grade point, it's so crazy. This, racing Super Street. What's the quota? The last quota I just saw for Super Street, one of the races was 45 cars. I mean, 45 cars, they sell out instantly.
Well, especially up in the Northeast, and when you have Epping, I think they fill up in a matter of days for Super Street.
Yeah.
You have big people around that area.
Yeah.
But, it's crazy, and then they just gouge you. I mean, one of the big things I remember about you, Jason, was that cartoon thing you had about the HR. You couldn't have been any more right than what you were. I think there were some consequences and repercussions to that, but...
yeah, NHRA didn't think I was right. NHRA thought I was way off base, which is why they sent the police to my house.
I don't think you were off base at all. I think you hit the nail right on the head. I'm still laughing.
It is funny that you bring that up, because I do get people that when they meet me for the first time, it's like a lot of times they don't necessarily put the name with the little cartoon thing that I did there, but a lot of times afterwards they're like, "Oh, you're the guy that did that." I'm like, "Yeah, that was me." 20 years later, it's still in infamy. It's going to be put it on my gravestone or something. Well, just like
I'm delighted to have that on my tombstone.
Just like any sportsman racer, it was said basically because I was frustrated with the situation. They wrecked something that I felt like was a really, really good thing, and I think most of us would all agree. I mean, we'd love to go back to the way it was. I mean, it was great the way it was.
Yep. No, they were wrong, and I've actually had NHRA and people from NHRA read something that's on Class Racer.
Yeah.
And they will, I would say, contact you.
Yeah.
I've been contacted by a few that watch what you're saying. We read these.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I'll attest to that.
Yeah.
I'm not sure at what point, how high I had to go up the ladder in the ivory tower in Glendora for someone to make the decision, okay, yes, we need to get our legal team involved here and send them to Jason's house in Rochester. But yes, they read it for sure.
I think you named every one of them.
Who showed up anyway? Was it Monroe County's finest, or was it?
It was Monroe County Sheriff's Department. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. The Glendora Police Department.
I would sure like to look that up again. Is that still online anywhere where we can find that?
Oh God, I'm sure it is
I'm sure
somewhere.
there's people out there listening to this that would love to hear it, and it would be worth it to find it.
Jeff Jackson's wagon.
I would say if I can find it, I will I will share it with Rob.
I'm pretty confident that you've showed me this
Yeah.
since the show started. So
Yeah,
it's
and
got to be out there somewhere.
It's out there somewhere. I'll find it. I'll find it. And I'm sure it probably still rings true today. Unfortunately, the only difference is instead of having a drunken ex-dog food salesman running the show, is we got some other corporate kook that's never raced a car running the show, right? But it's the same thing. Here we are.
I like it at national events when they come get in your picture and you're like, who the hell's this guy?
Oh, right. Yeah. It's crazy. Yeah.
Hey, man, you come out of the air conditioning?
Yeah, it's.
I've been that guy.
Yeah, I mean, you know a little bit more about these guys. Literally know nothing about sports and racing at all, and that's part of the problem. There's a huge disconnect between the corporate guys running the show and what racers are actually doing. But
yeah, well, you remember days of IHRA. Bill Bader would meet you at the gate.
Oh yeah,
he had a good-looking woman with you. Look out, because he would hug her and do anything he could. But yeah, I mean, that is the model that they need to go back to. An owner that cares, somebody that wants you to be at their organization.
Yep.
You know, it makes a huge difference. It really does.
Yeah, I was shocked. This was before Bader owned IHRA, but I was shocked the first time I went to Norwalk and raced the World Nationals out there. And there he was standing at the gate, thanking every competitor that was driving out the gate. There was Bill Bader thanking them, shaking their hand. I'm like, what the heck is this?
People can learn from that.
Oh, big time. Yeah, big time. Well, as I kind of expected, here we are an hour into the hour-long show, barely scratched the surface, with legendary Keith Bayers. Before we let you go, is there anybody you'd like to thank, sponsors, anything we haven't covered you want to touch on?
Oh God, I could talk for more, 2, 3, 4 hours, whatever you want to do. And of course,
Good. We will definitely have you back because this has been entertaining.
there's plenty of stuff to talk about. Probably something you shouldn't share on the air. But being the sponsor thing, of course, anytime I get a chance, I need to thank a few people. I don't have anything on the car really, but Roy from I got a good tire deal from VP helps me out. And one other person I got talking to Jason, and let me please know this is going to be wrong, but Agnostic, I'm going to call him that. He owns the PR15, and they came out with a clear line, and I told you I had a body shop. To paint the car this year, he actually gave me some of this icon, and he's, I'll just send you a gallon. Well, he sends over 2, 3 gallons and a whole bunch of other stuff. So he gave me a whole bunch of stuff to help paint the car with it this day. And obviously, I got my friend Jeff Fisher, my buddy and drinking pal. And I got Gerald Pierce, who's a really good friend of mine. And me, Gerald, and Jeff are pretty tight. And we used to be together. That's three pretty decent .90 guys. You got Keisters Association, I got to thank him and all the sponsors that do with that, because I live off when I win one of those races, he has almost like contingency package. And I buy all that stuff. Mizzier kicks in, altimeter, a bunch of places. I get a bunch of free stuff all the time. And the wife, I better say something about the wife. She actually might be listening. I'm out in the garage right now. But yeah, the wife too, because she lets me do it. She gets upset because I'm gone a lot. She thinks as soon as I leave here that I'm rolling around on the track like a pig with my feet up in the air, squealing. Which isn't too far from the truth, but yeah, and that's about it. I mean, I'm sure there's people that's out that I'm not saying anything about. Other other things, but those are the main people that helped me with the car.
Jeff Jackson says hello. He's been listening all night.
I'm sorry, what?
I was saying, I mentioned to Jeff earlier today that again, I feel like, Keith, that you're certainly one of the most decorated super street racers on the East Coast, and Jeff Jackson is certainly one of the most decorated super street racers on the West Coast. And one of these days, I'd love to see you guys meet in the middle, maybe someplace, and let's do a best of 5 East versus West, and see who takes home the crown.
Well, that's the guy with the rub doctor car?
Yes.
Yeah, that was a real fast Mustang. Yeah, I remember him. They just stop you there, though, because they do this. I've been a Jake's All-Star twice. So we have met, and I've run with the best of them. I got the finals both times over there. But you know what I was thinking about being a good shooter, you better not. But, yeah, I love that deal because it is great to be able to go out there. And how often are you going to be able to run some guy from California or Michigan or wherever? So the Jake's All-Star thing, that's one of the best things going. You can get to beat one. Yeah.
Yeah, I have to say that that would definitely be a highlight, probably a highlight of my racing career would be to be able to go compete in that. That would be super cool for sure. So one more thing that we'll add to your resume that we didn't talk about before. Here we are at 8:03. So, but yeah, hopefully we'll get a chance. Hopefully we'll get a chance someday, like I said, to get all of us together and go have a good super street race. Maybe we'll get the opportunity I'll get the opportunity to see you sometime this summer. I'm hoping to make it down to Rob's race at New Media there. So hopefully we'll get a chance to see each other then.
Have you been to New Media? That is a beautiful place there.
I love New Media. It's been a long time since I've been there. Last time I was there was when they had the NHRA Division race there, but I love New Media. That track is fantastic. I love watching there. I love going to the top end and watching. It's a fantastic track.
Yeah, I think, me and Fish last year, we just stayed a week because I think this funeral or something was next week. And we went, through the town. You had Catawissa, and you had the place that's been on fire like 60 years. And
yeah.
Stuff like that. Oh, man, it's a great area. That was neat. So, and yeah, he puts on a great race. If you're going to be there, I will definitely see you there because I will. Sure.
Well, it's I would say I have it penciled in on the schedule. So, well, if everything goes well and I don't run out of money beforehand, we'll be there.
You just got to win, that's all.
Well, I'm going to use some of the tips that you gave me tonight and see if I can to do some of that this year. So we'll see what we can do.
The one tells me it's easy. All you got to do is turn that light on.
Right. Yeah, mine.
You're really right.
My bulb always seems to be burned out for some reason.
It sounds simple enough, right? Just make that light bulb come on.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'll see what I can do. Hey, Keith, thanks for joining us tonight. Really appreciate it, and we're definitely going to make sure that we have you on the show again.
All right. I guess you'll be scraping the barrel again.
Hey, good luck this year until we meet again. Appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. Nice to be on.
See you, Keith.
There goes Keith Mayers.
Scraping the bottom of the barrel.
Yeah, I guess so. That was funny.
Yeah, he's always, I will say, from the class racer days. I mean, done his fair share winning, obviously, but he was never somebody that was cocky or pompous or anything like that. You'd never know that the guy did as well as he did.
Yeah. What do you think? We'll be back again 2 weeks?
So
it's the 22nd.
Yeah, I was going to ask. So I already got next guest lined up. Cody Riome, bracket racer extraordinaire from Empire, is going to be on the next show. So you tell me what show it's going to be, whether it's next week or 2 weeks, and Cody's already signed up.
All right, perfect. We'll look at schedules and make sure we can make it all work.
Okay.
Sounds good. I think that's going to do it for us here. We appreciate everybody tuning in and hanging out with us for a bit. That's it for episode number 91. We'll see everybody next time. This has been the Final Round Drag Racing Podcast, coming to you live from the FingerLakes1.com studios in downtown Seneca Falls, New York. We'll see you right back here again in 2 weeks. Thanks for watching.